Okay guys, look. When a new MK thing is announced, some kind of news, like a trailer drops, or a new thing is announced, like a new animated movie or a game or DLC or what have you, or, as is the case with the recent news, that the current game's content cycle is over, please do not tell me. I will most likely already know, and if I don't know by the time you do, I will know shortly, because even if I tell people not to, well, if I ask people rather not to tell me this stuff, somebody will. No matter what I do, I will find out about this stuff. As such, there is no need for you to tell me. I know how some people are going to interpret this, because those people are idiots. They're going to interpret this as me being ungrateful or attacking my fans or something. They said that last time. No, you dumbass. Pay attention. What this is me asking people not to send me this information, because loads of other people are going to do it already. So I'm going to get loads and loads of comments letting me know. In the last few days, my videos have been swamped with comments with people telling me the content cycle is over. Where's that MK11 critique? Or just saying the MK11 critique needs to get made now because because, and I get it. It's most likely, I think in the case of most of these people, it's people excited at the prospect of getting the critique made. So, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the enthusiasm. But what you have to understand as a viewer is, because I think a lot of people don't really understand this if they're not a creator with a relatively decent sized audience, is because I'm known for my interest in MK, I'm going to get loads and loads of comments every single time. And it can be genuinely draining to go through so many comments from people telling you this stuff that you already know. I know about this stuff. And I'm going to get a lot of people telling me about it. People telling you the same thing over and over again. And we can all relate to that. We can all relate to being annoyed by something repetitive. That happens here on a pretty large scale. And as a creator, it can drain the enthusiasm out of the prospects of working on that project. So again, I understand where a lot of these people are coming from, that they are just excited that I can finally work on the project. They want me to get to it as soon as possible. But them telling me is not going to make it happen any faster. The more people say it, the more frustrating it gets. And again, that's not an attack on anybody. It's not an attack on the viewers, or it's some ungrateful thing. The people who say that are idiots. Don't listen to them. They are fucking dumb. It's just a request. Please don't, because other people are going to have already done it. Okay? That's all this is. So the subject now is the critique. Is when? Yes, it is happening. I'm going to be starting work on it soon. It's not going to be a priority because I have other projects I still need to finish. I'm still working on the A Line Through Time on the Persona series, and that's quite a long one. That's like 30 minutes long. Fortunately, I'm getting some help with that one. There's the comparison video for the versions of MK2, featuring MK2, Shaolin Monks 2011 and MK11. I am considering actually extending that even further to go into Battle of the Realms. I think a lot of people make that mistake. Battle for the Realms? No, it's Battle of the Realms. Because that's going to be another adaptation of MK2. The second one we've ever had, actually. The only other one we had was the Malibu Comics, the Battle Wave series, which was 6 issues plus Tournament Edition 2. And that was very loose. Like, the actual tournament doesn't even start until Tournament Edition after Battle Wave is over. And, like, Khan's main plot isn't to challenge the Earth Realm as an Outworld. It's to kidnap Sonya Blade and marry her, because this was the 90s, and that's just what villains did in adaptations of video games. You know, Ganon did it, Bowser did it, and Shao Kahn did it. So I wasn't going to include adaptations like the Malibu comics, because that was the only one we had at the time, but now we actually have an adaptation that's going into that. That's going to be coming out, I think it's next month or the end of this month. I'm not sure if we should go into that. And that's the thing, is I'm going to keep working on the video as is, but I'll probably wait until after that movie's out to decide whether or not that's worth including as well. Maybe there'll be something interesting worth talking about in this movie. Maybe not. We'll see. On the subject of the movies, yes, I will be eventually doing some kind of videos about the films. All of them. All 5 that we currently have, plus Legacy. I do plan to cover all of them. I don't know what the format will be. Maybe it'll be something with adaptive difficulty, or maybe it'll just be critiques. I don't know. Also, please don't tell me anything about this new movie. I'm planning to get it on release. I don't know if it'll actually arrive on release, but hopefully I'll be able to, and I'll be able to watch it, and, you know, maybe it'll be good. Because, you know, in retrospect, while I dislike Scorpion's Revenge for a number of reasons, it's probably the best MK thing we've gotten, like, as far as like an actual MK story goes, since the NetherRealm era began. I mean, it's certainly better than 2021. Ooh, 2021 was so bad. The games aren't much better. So I'm trying to avoid even the trailer. I've not watched the trailer, but I've still managed to see a few screenshots from the trailer, so I know some of the characters are in it, even though I don't want to. But the critique, to get back on the actual main topic, the critique is going to happen this year. It's going to be done this year, unless something significant comes up that disrupts all that. It's going to be this year. I have a particular date in mind. I'm not going to say what that date is, because I don't want to give myself a strict deadline, because even with the amount of time that'll pass between now and then, I still feel like what is most likely going to be a 2-hour plus video is, you know, even just working on this half-hour video of Persona, it's daunting. You know, and there's times when I look at it and go, I'm barely making any progress, and then it can kind of like diminish the drive to work on it. MK's a little different, admittedly, because with MK I have a much firmer grasp on, in my head, of what shots there are. So if I'm like, well, I need a shot for this bit of the video, I can usually very quickly go, well, here's a bit from like MKX, for example, a shot in the story mode. I can just put there and use that. With Persona and stuff like that, you know, it's a difference between every game having like 2 hours of cutscenes versus having 60 to 70 hours of cutscenes, you know. There's a big difference there. But even then, it's a lot. It's a big project. It's going to take a while to get through. So obviously I'm going to be not working on that non-stop. I'll be stopping every now and then to work on a smaller project. Maybe not necessarily much MK related. I'll try and do MK stuff in general. Like I always try to get at least one MK video a month, if only because that's the stuff that does the best. Typically, MK stuff tends to outperform everything else on the channel, other than like the weird outliers, like the Resident Evil adaptive difficulty. General Resident Evil videos do quite well, actually, and the Mara shitpost, which is on fucking 2.5 million views. I have a bunch of stuff lined up, just small stuff, nothing big and major. It'll just be small stuff, so I can just get something out and then get back to the big project. But like I said, that's not going to be a priority working on that yet. I'll be doing bits and pieces of the script in the meantime, because, well, it's a lot to get through. Another thing with that script is I'm going to have a bit of trouble, I think, balancing stuff to put in the critique and stuff to just mention and leave for another video, or to say I've already covered that in another video, because that's not really been an issue with the previous ones so much. Like, because I didn't really have shows like Wasted Potential back when I did, like, say, the MKX critique, or if I did, it was like brand new. Whereas you look at, say, Injustice 1, I mean, what became the Injustice Wasted Potential was already basically laid out in that critique. So I don't want to be too repetitive. So like the Injustice 2 one, I'll have stuff where I'll say, I'll talk about this stuff a bit because it still needs to be discussed and criticised because it's still part of the product. But most of it will be, I'm going to talk about how to improve it in this other video. And then I'll talk, say what video that'll be, and then that video will come out eventually and do that. Or I've already talked about it, because I have talked about a lot of MK11 stuff. Because that's another difference, is that with all the previous ones, the previous like big critiques, I hadn't really done other videos about them prior to the critiques. That was the first thing I did, really. But with MK11, it's like I've talked about MK11 plenty. So it's a balancing act of trying to be thorough and include everything, because that's why I wait until all the DLCs are done, so I can make sure I've got everything, but also trying to avoid being repetitive for someone who might have seen this content before, or be watching the new stuff, or God forbid someone decides to like binge the MK and Injustice playlist, and then it's like, well, this seems repetitive. That's one of the most frustrating things when you go back through someone's like back catalogue, is when you see, oh, they use this joke all the time, and I didn't realise, but now it's like, yeah, this person just uses this joke a lot, and it's not funny. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about that because I've never been funny. But also, yeah, if you're wondering about why certain videos might not have come out last month that I mentioned were planned to, like the Line Through Time isn't done yet, the Cannonball on MK2 hasn't been done yet. I was planning to get them out last month. It's just between certain points where I had to work more hours at work, which is still something I have to deal with. I've in fact been doing a lot of Persona stories over the last month. A lot of Tales from the Metaverse, which I did a video about recently. I've been doing a lot of those stories, including a really big Persona story that's not Tales from the Metaverse. And I'll be discussing that in the 3rd episode of the Tales from the Metaverse video series, which will be a while off. So you can always just go and check that out. It's called The Lover's Awakening. People seem to like it so far. There's a bunch of wasted potentials that'll come after the critique, some of which have been written for like a year or 2. Not much will be changed about the scripts by the time it actually comes out after the critique, late this year or early next year. Like there's one, for example, about Sonya and Johnny in MK11, and that's going to come after the critique, and that's been written and waiting for MK11's content cycle to be over so I can do the critique, so then I basically lay the foundation for all the issues, and then I can build on that with the wasted potentials. So this year's not really going to have a theme for MK wasted potentials. There's not going to be many of those at all, because most of the ideas I've got for MK currently are MK11 focused, or ones where people keep saying, hey, you should do like a reptile one or a rain one, and I'm like, yeah, sure, if I have ideas. And people don't really have much in the way of ideas to provide to help me with it, so what do you expect me to do? It's actually a similar topic actually to the start of the video, where I was talking about, please don't just mindlessly comment things, please consider before you comment. In a similar vein, please don't make suggestions for a Line Through Time or wasted potential if you're not going to pitch it. You're not going to give me an actual pitch for it. Like, explain why this timeline needs to be explained. The people said, do a Kirby one. And it's like, Kirby's just all in release order. The fuck is there to say? Right? People want one on Yakuza. Again, it's just in release order other than Yakuza 0. And like the new Majima stuff in Kiwami 2 and occasional flashback stuff. It's really not difficult. And like with wasted potential, it's do one about this character or this series, and it's often cases of that's something I don't care about, so no, or it's something where I don't see the issue or I don't have an alternative. Because people will like do reptile or rain, and it's like, what do you want me to say about them? You might see issues that I don't. So how am I supposed to make it based on that? So again, it's another thing. Please think about this stuff before you comment, because if you just say do one on this character, that's fucking useless. There's nothing I can do with that. It's the same thing as when you criticize something or praise it without any depth. In essence, what you think doesn't matter. Why you think it, that's what matters. Imagine if my critiques for the NetherRealm games were literally just MK11, I don't like it, and that's the video. Like that's worthless. It means nothing. Whereas if I actually explain the problems with it, that's where the value is. So likewise, just saying do this character, I'm gonna get those arseholes calling me ungrateful again. So long story short, I'm bound to go off on a tangent again. I know that MK11's content cycle is over. The critique is going to start being worked on relatively soon, but I've got other projects I want to focus on before I get properly stuck into that. Plus, the longer it goes on, the further back it'll have to be pushed, so I can work on smaller stuff, just so there's more content being made, because I'm trying to make a career out of this, and if I just spend like 2 months working on one video and not putting anything out, that's not good for business. I mean, unless you guys want to support me on Patreon, so I don't have to worry about that. Anyway, the critique will get made. It's going to be released this year at some point. I have an idea of when I'm going to release it, but I'm not going to say when that is, so I'm not making a promise that I can't keep, because I'm not NetherRealm, and there'll be some wasted potentials on MK11 after that. And yes, I'll also be talking about the movies at some point. There are a couple of things that I need help with, though. One is I want to do, just to clear up the air, misconceptions on the whole MK11 is going to be the longest supported game thing, because a lot of people keep bringing that up, and I just don't get it, because people come out saying so much for MK11 being the longest supported NetherRealm game, and it's like, but it was. Like, if we count support as from release up to the last DLC, it was. Like, hasn't every prior NetherRealm game just been a year at most? Whereas this one was just over a year and a half from release to Combat Pack 2. So am I missing something? Or are people just being dumb? You know, cause it's one of those where, at least with the rain thing, like the repeat DLCs and what have you, I could see how someone could hear that and then accept it and then just bring that up. But here it's like, even if it's just something you heard, that you don't have a source for it, and someone just said, like NetherRealm said that, like, just looking at the facts, they're right. It was the longest supported. What's the issue? I mean, I've seen people claim that someone from the team said that it was going to be supported for much, much longer than 1 year. Sources, please. So I need people to point me to these quotes, to where these things were said, so I can actually figure this out and address it, you know? And then, if you guys are sick of hearing people complain about this as well, then you can link them the video, because people do that when people talk about the repeat DLCs thing. I saw a lot of people just replying with a link to the video I did on that. So you could do that. The other thing I need help with is figuring out Kronika's plan. You know, I watched the cutscenes just before the game came out. It was like a week or so before, because they got leaked online before the game released. Because NetherRealm, I can't tell if they're just woefully incompetent at plugging leaks, or if they just let it go intentionally. But since then, before release, this is over a year and a half. I have struggled to grasp what exactly Kronika's plan is supposed to be and how it's supposed to work. Because at first it seems like Shinnok is a big part of it, but then later in the game, he's not even a factor. I mean, she repairs his spire, but doesn't recover his head. So is Shinnok just an excuse for this? You know, is it like Agamemnon using the abduction of Helen as an excuse for the Trojan War because he wanted to do it anyway, but now he's got a good reason for it? Is that what it is? Or is it just like bad, inconsistent writing? Do Kronika's powers actually work on gods? Because sometimes they don't, but other times they do. And there's seemingly no rhyme or reason for it. What is the new era actually supposed to be? How do the Elder Gods factor into this? How are they not aware of her plan? There's so many questions, and I can't tell if it's just that I missed something, or if it is just really poor writing. And I'm inclined to assume the latter, because I've asked this before and I've never gotten a satisfactory answer. Plus, you have to consider stuff like, when questioned about the hierarchy of like the Elder Gods and the Titans and the One Being, both writers for MK11 had different answers for who is higher, the Titans or the One Being. Because Dominic Chancholo thinks the Titans are higher, and Sean Kittleson thinks the One Being is. And there are different ways you can interpret that. What matters is it's clear that there was a divide in between the two writers on some subjects at least. And that could be a factor in Kronika being this like just impossible mess to understand. But I've seen people who think Kronika's a good villain. You know, there was this fucking guy on Reddit. I saw the screenshots of his lengthy post, this lengthy diatribe about how Kronika's a better villain than Onaga. And then I just went through and systematically dismantled every fucking thing he said, because it was all factually incorrect all of it was just easily disproven. So there are people who think Kronika's a good villain, so I'm thinking, there must be something there, right? There has to be a reason these people like this character. But I don't get it. So I think maybe if I understood her plan better, maybe I might look at her as being a good villain, but from what it looks to me, she is woefully incompetent. Her scheme makes no sense. Her power is either inconsistent or she's just too dumb to make use of her powers when that would give her a clear advantage. Kronika's entire scheme falls apart once you realise that the big deal that it's made out of. If Raiden and Liu Kang work together to defeat her, she will lose. So while the two are ready to kill each other at the start of the game, she brings past versions who were allies into the present, erasing Dark Raiden, and now that she has the good versions ready to work together. And she could intervene and stop them at any time, as proven during Scorpion's chapter, but she just chooses not to, I guess. And this is the thing, it's so poorly constructed, seemingly. It's so hard to grasp. I look at it and think, it can't possibly just be poor writing, right? There has to be something that I'm missing. So I'd like you guys, in addition to, trying to help me find the sources for that other video, please try and explain to me what Kronika's plan is, what her motivations are, how any of this is supposed to work, so I can try and understand Kronika a bit better. Because I've been trying to get this work this out since release, so I could do a Cetrion Wasted Potential. But in order to do that, I need to lay out my alternate version, and since Cetrion is helping Kronika so closely, I need to understand what Kronika's scheme is and how it works in order to lay it out, and I've not been able to. And yeah, I'm just fucking losing my mind here trying to figure out, is it just bad writing? Or did I miss something? So I need help figuring this out. So please, if you have an idea of how this is supposed to work, please let me know. I'm going to end it here because I don't want to bang on about other stuff too much. I've talked about the critique, some of the stuff that I need help with. When the critiques come in, if you're still waiting for... I don't think I actually talked about this properly on the channel. I've linked it before, but if you want my thoughts on the 2021 movie, I've actually talked about it a few times. I did a viewing party with Brusque Poet, and you can find that on his channel. It was not the actual viewing party, but the aftermath. We were talking about it with some people. It was me, him, and Sonic RXD. And we're just talking with some of Brusque's fans about it and what they thought of the film and giving our own takes. Then there was like I think it's like 5 hour long conversation I had with Brusque, Sonic, and True Underdog Gaming, and we just went really in depth on the film. Maybe there's something else coming in the future involving one of those guys and possibly me. I don't know, maybe you should check out their content as well and indulge in a third of an entire day of just us talking about this fucking awful movie. And that will hopefully tide you over a bit until the MK11 critique, because I reckon that video is going to be like an hour, not an hour and a half, 2.5 hours because of Aftermath. I'm going to talk about Sindel again in that critique. I can't not, okay? You can't complain about it. You can't talk about Aftermath without talking about the Sindel thing. I'm going to try and find new stuff to talk about with it and try not to repeat myself too much. But you have to. You have to. It's such a major part of it. It'd be silly if I didn't. If that upsets you, tough shit, I don't care. You're a little bitch boy or girl or whatever the fuck else. You're a little bitch. I'm probably another fanboy, in which case, piss off.